Right. These next set of questions are really just applications of fixed and variable reporting, and it's very. These are nice questions that you just have to follow through carefully, and you will see that you should be comfortable with them. So just reading the first one, it says that Truck Transport Limited is planning some new routes for the first month, for the next month. They have 3 routes here: S, SE, and SW. We're literally just putting down some information. The contract, just literally follow, do as they're doing, and just do what you're supposed to do. Just follow the rules, and you're there. The route for Route S is 3,000 miles, so you just run 3,000. That's it, not a problem. And at a rate of £150 per mile. So the revenue, of course, will be 3,000 times 150. So this one here is 3,000, yes, times 150. It's telling you very clearly. And so for here, your revenue will be 450,000, right? That's the first thing. The next thing it tells you is that the route for Route SE is 20% less miles. So if you were 3,000, 20% less miles is technically 80% of 3,000, right? Which means that you now have here, well, that's 0.8 times 3,000, of course, which is therefore 2,400 miles, yes? And it tells you with a rate that's 10% more. So you're currently at 150, and your 10% more, of course, is 10% of 150 plus adding that onto that. So you could just multiply that by 1.1. So we're really saying 2,400 miles, 2,400 miles, which is this thing, times 150 times 1.1 in effect, and that takes you to 396,000. Then it says the contract for Route SW is 20% more miles than Route S. So we're here at Route S, and so 20% more miles is 3,000 times, if you like, 1.2, or 20% more than that, and that takes you to 3,600 miles. That's 3,600 miles. And it says here that you have a rate that's less by 10%. So you have 150 and 10% less of that. So that's really 90% of that, isn't it? So 90% of that. So the 3,600 times this amount should bring you to a figure of 486,000. So that's the first thing for us to catch our revenues. Let's look at our variable costs. It tells us here, pretty straight, variable costs are £80 a mile. So that's, I'll just change my pen color. That's £80 times the 3,000, right? So £80 times 3,000, that's 240,000. That's pretty straight right there. Then it says here that variable costs are, for Route SE, variable costs are £5 more per mile. So instead of £80, you have 80 plus 5, which is 85. So you have 85 times the 2,400, and that is 204,000. Right. Then here it tells you that the variable costs are £6.25 less per mile. So it's than Route S. So it's currently at £80. So 6.25 less of this. So in effect, that's the difference of 93.75. Yes, because that plus 6.25 make 100%. So basically, the new cost is 93.75 of £80, if you like, if you want to do it that way. The point is get to the difference. So 93.75 of 80 times the number of miles of 3,600 should take you to 270,000. So basically 93.75 times 80 times 3,600. So if we do this, now we can find our contribution. I'll just change my pen color. So 450,000, 5 minus 4 is 1, and then you have 210,000. Here you have 396 minus 204,000, which is 192,000. And here you have 486 minus 270, which is 216,000. Right? And there you have here, that's your contribution. Right. Now let's look at fixed costs. It says that the fixed costs, we're basically apportioning this 400,000, 20% of that to root S, 30% to root SE, and the remainder to. So that's 50. Half of that is going to root SW. So half of that is 200,000, 200,000, and then 20% of that, so that's 80,000, and that's 120,000. So that's what you have as your apportioning of fixed costs, and then you now take those away. And so let's just do that very quickly. 210 minus 80 is 130,000. 130,000. Then you have 192,000 minus 120, which is 72,000. 72,000. And then you have 216,000 minus 200,000, which is 16,000. Which is 16,000. And so this is where we're sitting. These are the profit figures. Right. Then they again will always come up with some ethics. You have some ethics that you have to work with. So the question states here that you are asked to. This is just like just dealing with some ethics. It says you're asked to change the variable cost figure to increase profit. So they're asking you to reduce it. Someone at work or something along those lines. And it says there is no evidence to support this change. What do you do? And you don't do this. First of all, from an ethical point of view, you refuse to do such a thing. You discover an error that will significantly impact profit for one of your routes. Do you report this to your manager? Yes, that seems pretty straight. While completing the forecast, you wonder why the different routes are charged at different rates. You ask the manager to explain. You want to know what it is you're dealing with. And finally, a friend of the family works for a competitor and would like to see your forecast calculations. Confidentiality. So we're really testing objectivity, OPPIC, integrity, yes, professional behavior, confidentiality. That's what's being tested right here in B. So great stuff. So that's, again, like I say, these are nice questions where we're just applying our understanding of revenue and variable costs and things like that. Okay, great stuff. Let's move on to the next question. Let's work on India. I actually suspect we might see, hopefully, a couple of questions coming up that look like these, because it is very much very similar thinking here, where we are given information and we need to sort of assess it and work out some selling price per unit type models and work along those lines. Let's begin at the beginning. Sales revenue. So we are told that for rose, you need 1,000 units. For tulip, you need 200 units. And for buttercup, it says that the demand is 50% less than rose. So they're half of them. So there's 500 units for buttercup. Let's look at it. So you have revenue of 50,000 and 50,000 spread over 50,000 spread over 1,000 units must mean that you're selling, just divide, this is the total revenue for the number of units. That means you're selling them at £50 a unit, right? And then if you think about the same thing here, you have 24,000 divided by 200. That means you're selling these here, 24,000 divided by 200, that is 120, right? And then finally you have the 40,000 divided by the 500 units. That means you're selling these at £80 per unit. That's the first point. I'll just change my pen color to include the situation with materials. So with materials, you're making 1,000, 200, and 500, but these are your materials: 1,000 here, 4,000 in this. So if you take 10,000 divided by 1,000, and then the material here, of course, is 10. Of course, then you have the 4,800 divided by the 200, and then you have here 24. And then finally, oops, I'll just erase that. You have 24. And then finally, you have the 8,000 divided by, yes, in terms of materials, you have the 8,000 divided by the 500, and here you have 16. Yes. So how I found this, I am just taking these totals and dividing them by the number of units. That's total divided number of units. This total divided by the number of units. And there you have it. And literally repeat the same thing, if you like, in terms of, if we talk about just changing pen color to make it a bit more kind of, so take this 13,000, divide that by the 1,000 units, take the 8,000, divide that by the 200, take the 10,500 and divide that by the 500 to find the respective labor cost units, and you'll have 13, and here you'll have 44, and here you will have 21. And so therefore the contribution per unit would of course be the 50 minus the minus both of these, yes? So you will have a contribution here of 27, and here you will have a contribution of 52, and here you will have a contribution of 43. Right. Now, in terms of volume is given to us, we have 1,000 units here, we have 200 units, and we have 500 units over here, which means we can now calculate the total contribution, which just is literally the multiplication of these two things together, isn't it? Oops, sorry, where's my eraser? Oops. It's really the multiplication of these two things together, and therefore the total contribution is 27,000. Here the total contribution is 10,400, and here the total contribution is 21,500. And we can add that all together, can't we? We're told that the fixed costs are 52,000, so we know there's a 52,000 there. And when I add all this together in terms of all these contributions, 27,000 plus 10,400 plus 21,500, you get a total of 58,900. So 58,900 minus 52,000 is equal to 6,900. Yeah, and that's question 54. That's question 54. I suspect, even looking at this, yeah, question 55. Yeah, question 55 is really the same thing. I think this is a good one for you to practice, but it's exactly the same process from 54, 53, and 54. So I think that's a good cover for 55 as well. We're literally filling in these boxes, and it's exactly the same structure as what we've just done. Here is a bit of an unethical behavior, but I think you'll be fine with that. It says which of these is an example of unethical behavior. You can probably see it screaming at you. Treating sports shirts as confidential. That makes sense. That's very much ethical. That's good. Calculating profit subjectively. The question of subjectivity straight away tells you that this is unethical. We want to be objective, isn't it? OPPIC, objectivity, and you can see objectivity here and consistency. So B is the right answer here. But then just chuck in all the figures here, and we would have covered that comfortably. In effect, covering segmental reporting, which is really a variant of understanding variable costs and fixed costs. Cool, great stuff.